Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. We begin this session today with doing some side steps, i.e. ins and outs. So this helps to improve lateral movements by stretching the hip flexors and the groin. You are to do 10 of each in and out on each foot. We then move on to calf raises. Ironically, they don't actually help with the calves, but they do reduce injuries by strengthening and conditioning the hamstrings and the quads. You should feel it pulling at the back of your hamstring every time you do a rep. You are to do 10 reps of each on both feet. This is the last exercise we're going to be doing for this session with the resistant bands, and this works on your quads and your hip flexors. There's many different names for this type of exercise, but me personally, I call it sideways leg raises. You are to do 10 reps on one side and then change over and then do 10 on the other side. We then begin the first exercise in our ball mastery. We start off with just using the insides and the outsides of our feet. We're focusing mainly on controlling the ball in tight spaces and doing drills to help improve either our control or dribbling in tight spaces. So as you can see here, this ball mastery exercise incorporates both of your feet, using the parts of your feet that we use to control the ball, the inside and the outside of the foot. You might find that with your weaker foot, the touch is going to be too soft sometimes, or sometimes it's going to be too heavy. So what you have to do is try and find the balance. But the only way to improve this is by doing what? Is by constantly doing these kind of drills over and over again. It's just for us to get into the habit and for us to just get used to using the outside of our feet and the insides, especially with our weaker foot, because people rarely use the outside of their weaker foot because it's something that's very difficult. Some people can barely use the outside of their stronger foot. However, we have to focus on using it regardless, because of the fact that we need to help improve both of our feet so we're comfortable receiving the ball on both feet. The next exercise we go into is just using the sole of our foot. We start off with you can use your right foot, your left foot, and we're just going in and out, just using the sole of our feet going out in between each cone. Every tap and every touch needs to be in front, especially when it comes to our weaker foot, which will be demonstrated next, is that we need to be using both of our feet because of the fact that, like I mentioned before, we just need to get comfortable in using both parts and both parts of our feet, or all parts of our feet on both sides. And as I mentioned before, that we just change over, use the weaker foot or the other foot, whichever foot you wanted to start with, and you just keep going. With the weaker foot, just take it nice and slow. There's no need to do it at speed unless you can do it at speed and have great success. If you find that you're not having enough success doing these kind of drills, it's because either you're going too fast, or the technique that you're using isn't good, or you're not concentrated enough. So just focus on what you're doing, alright, look at the ball, alright, and clear your mind. For the last ball mastery exercise, we're just doing toe taps in and out in between each cone. So, like I said in the previous exercise, we have to make sure that every touch is in front. Because what happens when the ball gets underneath us, like just that we lose control. And that we end up, the momentum is taking us to do the next touch, but we can't because the ball's stuck underneath us. So the touch of the ball has to match your momentum. If you can match your momentum with the touches on the ball, then you should have great success doing this drill. But sometimes what happens is that the touch is too small and then it sticks underneath you. Especially you might find with your weaker foot. But we just have to keep going. The thing about these kind of ball mastery exercises is that the more you do them, the faster and the more success that you'll get. So it doesn't matter if for the first time you can't do it, it's just all about you getting in that repetition. We then end the session with some physical exercises, with shoulder taps to begin with. All we're doing is starting in a press-up position, and we're just tapping the opposite shoulder with the opposite hand. So right hand to left shoulder, left hand to right shoulder. You're going to do 20 reps and 2 sets. We then go on to some leg curls, and this is all about your core. And these exercises, these physical exercises, will always be focused around your core because your core and stability are very important in football. Doesn't matter how big or small you are. So you lie flat on the floor, feet together, feet off the floor, and you just bring your legs as far as you can, as close as you can to your chest, and then stretch them out. Do it as slow as you can. Alright, you should then feel it in your core, and you should feel the core burning. That's how you know you're doing that exercise correctly. You are to do 20 reps and 2 sets of these as well. You can also keep your hands on the floor, as you can see, just to maintain that balance.